Mark and Linda Louw, it is my privilege today to welcome you to the Eurasia region. And this is just an opportunity today. I just want to be able to sit and chat with you and introduce you to the wonderful people of the Eurasia region, because I think they're going to be very excited to have the two of you moving to Boozingen and to be the regional directors for Eurasia. So just on behalf of the whole region today, I say welcome to the two of you. I also think it's a wonderful opportunity today for the region to get to know the two of you. So let me just start out by asking you, where are you today? Where in the world are you, and where would you be coming from to be moving here to the region?
Well, we are in Singapore, so we are right at the tip of the peninsula of Thailand, Malaysia.
And you've been living and working there as the regional director for Asia Pacific. Tell us how long you've been there, and why don't you tell us a little bit about what that region has been like and how you think maybe some of that might help to lead you into what Eurasia seems to be like.
Yeah.
Well, I'd say the first word is diverse.
Yeah.
So I think that in a way does prepare us for Eurasia, diverse.
Yeah. Well, we've been here for 12 years, or September 1st will be 12 years.
Wow.
And as Linda said, diversity is the major description for this region. Australia-New Zealand field is a post-Christian field. So in a sense, I believe it's going to be a lot like Western Europe, where Christianity had been strong at some point, and since then the culture's moved on. The church has been left behind. Then we have the Philippine field, Philippines and Micronesia, which is predominantly Catholic. Then we have the Southeast Asia field that is predominantly Buddhist. So when I think of places like India, although India is predominantly, I believe, Hindu. Yeah, Hindu. Well, Buddhism came out of Hinduism, right? So there is a bit of crossover in that religion. Let me see, what do we have left? We have Indonesia, which is the largest Muslim nation per population in the world. I have a knowledge of Islam also coming from West Africa, where we served for 13 years. The West African field is predominantly Muslim. So we've learned a lot living amongst these people. So that's what we bring: knowledge of diversity, knowledge of the fact that you probably don't know too much about anything. You just have to learn. And I think that's what Linda and I bring, that we are learners. We want to learn about the people and the culture, and then see what God has equipped us with, the experiences that He's given, and see how that can be matched with the contextual realities of the different fields in the Eurasia region. So we come with no agenda per se, except to learn and to serve, to bring Wu and what we are.
So maybe you could talk to us even about your own personal kind of spiritual journey that brings you to this place of taking you from where you have been for the last 12 years and now bringing you to Eurasia, and how the Lord has been leading you to this moment in time.
Well, I mean, I don't know how much of a journey you want to go on. We can give you a real long journey, but in brief, my best friend in high school was a Nazarene missionary kid. So I grew up in Cape Town, South Africa. My parents,
not as a Nazarene.
Not as a Nazarene. I was raised in a Christian home, was dragged to church on Sundays, Sunday school, youth camps, did all that kind of thing. My best friend in high school was a Nazarene missionary kid, so he went to public school. And when we graduated from high school, he went to Point Loma, and I went into the South African Army. I joined the Army actually as a career soldier. And we had promised each other that we'd go to each other's weddings. And he wrote me a letter saying, "I'm getting married and I'd like you to come to the wedding." And I said, okay. I said I would, and I went there to the wedding. And he said,
seriously,
the last night of our honeymoon is going to be Nazarene night at Disneyland, and I'm going to arrange a date for you because Don and I are newly married, and we don't want you to feel like a spare wheel. So we'll bring someone along for you. Well, here she is. You can pick up.
Anyway, so we communicated and talked to each other for the next year and a half. And I went to South Africa and he came back to America. And eventually we got engaged. And so 18 months later, we were married and we moved to South Africa and had two beautiful little girls there. We were there 5 years while he was in the army. And God began working with him as we attended church together. We became involved in the youth group and became leaders in the youth group. And through many different avenues, different ways, God showed him very clearly that he wanted him in full-time ministry. And so he answered the call. We went back to America. Eventually, we pastored a small church in Northern California and had another daughter. And at the General Assembly in San Antonio, there was the final missionary service, and retired missionaries took up lit crosses. They had, the lights on them, the little fairy lights. My aunt and uncle were among the missionaries that took crosses up. And then the invitation was given, who will take up these crosses? And we didn't even look at each other. We hadn't ever talked about missions. It had never been on the radar. And we just got up and we went and got a cross.
We are servants of God and the church, and where he calls and asks us to go, if we discern that to be the way, then yes, we respond. So this is why we are here, willing to serve.
That's beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing so much of your journey together and how the Lord has brought you together and led you through every pathway. So now, just thinking about the days ahead, what excites you about coming to Eurasia?
My grandchildren live in England.
That's just being real honest right there, isn't it?
I'll be honest here. I have grandchildren. Well, one thing, both of us are history buffs. I've always loved history. So just the richness of the culture and the heritage that's in Eurasia, that just speaks to the geek in me.
But for me, more, it's the challenge of engaging with the church in these new cultures, to me at least, and seeing how God works differently in different cultures, and seeing how the church responds. So I'm really excited about meeting people, meeting the church leaders, meeting the district superintendents, the regional leadership team, to hear from them, to hear the stories of God. I'm also really excited about mobilizing people into ministry. So here on the Asia Pacific region, this year we embraced an objective of having 100 missionaries from the Asia Pacific region engaged in the mobilization process by 2030. I know God calls people from all cultures into his mission, and then working with the church to empower those people, to provide them with opportunity to serve. We are grateful for the opportunity to come to the Eurasia region and learn about what God is doing and coming alongside people and helping to facilitate the mission of God.
Well, that sounds wonderful. You know, the Eurasia region is very near and dear to my heart. This is the region I was born in and lived here 21 years of my life on the region. And it's such a special place. And I think in my heart, I've always just felt like I want the leaders of Eurasia to love this part of the world and the incredible people that are a part of that. And even though you haven't been here, I feel like I already hear that in your heart, that your hearts are open to embracing the wonderful people of Eurasia and what God is doing. And so really, on behalf of the people of Eurasia region, I'm going to say welcome. Thank you for following God's leading and hearing God's voice and being willing to say, yes, I will follow wherever you might lead me, Lord.
I hope that's what we bring to Eurasia. Just this feeling of it's going to be our family. It's going to be our home. It's not a stopping ground on the way to retirement. It is going to be our home.
Yeah.
And we want to embrace the people, the work, the churches. We want to come with open arms.
The other thing that I'd like to say is we would like to be viewed as just another missionary colleague. Within the church, we have a structure, and some view it as a hierarchy depending on what kind of culture you're from. But for us, we are co-laborers. And we have different responsibilities and different assignments. And sometimes that means we hold people accountable for their ministry assignments. But in the end, we're all engaged in the vineyard, so to speak, in the kingdom. And advancing the kingdom is our primary objective. And bringing people into knowledge and relationship of Jesus, that's the goal. So yeah, we want to know people, and we want people to know us just as we are.
That's great. Thank you so much. It's really been fun to hear more about your story today and to know you a little bit better. If you had any last words today to leave with Eurasia, what would those be?
We're excited, very excited about coming to the region. And I would say this. We have learned that God is faithful, that even when the future seems uncertain, and in this instance it is uncertain because we really know nothing about the Eurasia region, even when things appear uncertain, He has His hands in it. He is there. He's inviting us into His grace and into His knowledge. And we come excited about that.
On behalf of the Eurasia region, welcome. And we welcome you, and we welcome you with open arms to believe that God has ordained this time and this moment, and that God is going to use the two of you to meld together with the leadership of the Eurasia region, and that this is a season where God wants to pour out His Spirit and do more than we could ever even begin to ask or imagine. And so we just move forward in this journey, trusting God, and we believe that God has called the two of you to come for this season to be a part of Eurasia. So welcome, and thank you for saying yes.